Okay, we're here with a commander game here using an Visit deck. This is the pure attack deck. So everything we have here triggers on attack or has some kind of attack or block trigger. And we have to mulligan down to 4. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to show this game, show the power of recovery of having a reload in your command zone. So our opponents are playing the Eminence Knight Commander from March of the Machine. We have Negan and we have Ayala, the Artful Provocateur. Now this game as well, there's two other reasons I wanted to highlight this. This game shows the struggles you have playing online. So right now everyone's just setting up ramp, which is totally fine. I will say Ian 1755, the Negan player, is the host. And this host put on his the game introduction. I believe it was casual, have fun. It's not fun if you don't let me cast my commander. So here's the deal. I'm gonna say this: if you are playing like a commander which is gonna force people's hands to like sack and do stuff, it's probably gonna get hated on. Like, this is one of the things I was saying before, is there are certain things you do in Commander which are going to get you hated. Playing Infinity cards is one that I've seen people be mad about. As you see here, they've got Negan, and well, we're having a bit of a problem here because our Sibis player is starting to miss their land drops. So our Knight player is going off with the Knights. They swing in, start looting. For those of you who don't know, when Negan enters, he chooses a creature for every opponent, and then we choose one. He chooses. Basically, it's kind of like a will we, won't we? Which one are you choosing? Opponent throws out a Dictator Crewfix, desperately trying to find some land here. So I'm going to stop throwing out Sam. Frodo. I've already got Sam out. I'm going to throw out the Dreadhorde Butcher, and I'm going to gain food. I'm going to gain life with the extra mana because I might as well. Because we're going to get more food every turn. I'm going to poke in here with the Dreadhorde Butcher. Let's see what things go. So, this is supposed to be a casual game. We have an opponent who is missing their land drops, struggling. And we have an Mardu Edict deck. So they go for Lucille here, and here's the issue that I don't think they understand, and it's a bit of a misplay on their part. They want to get a trigger here, so they are swinging at me in retaliation for me poking them for 1. In response to Lucille's trigger though, I can sacrifice a creature, and Dreadhorde Butcher does have a dice trigger where it will dome something for damage equal to its power. So basically by attacking me they've killed their creature, because I'm just going to blow it up here with the Dreadhorde Butcher. And they ultimately get no triggers and no value off it. You'll see that we're holding an Aurelia here. So Aurelia is like the silver bullet in this deck. If we can resolve a lot of things that trigger at the beginning of combat when we deal damage or when we attack, and we get an Aurelia down, we can just run away with games. This though is something I also wanted to highlight. This is where things get really bad for our Sibis opponent. They double draw, they don't find a land, so they cast the new fairy spell that has mill on it. Either one we've seen in Phoenix recently. It's the Adventure Fairy from the Wilds of Eldraine. Here it is. They mill, and just look when I flip open their graveyard. This is probably the most tragic thing I've seen. I don't even remember what they got back, but I just look at their graveyard and there's 3 of their lands that they needed so desperately just milled off the top of their deck. And they concede to that. So this is one of the struggles now of online play, is ultimately opponents can just leave. Now, yeah, when we play in person, we might just say, hey, just grab a land, or hey, we'll just leave you alone. But there's another digital game available immediately, so why would you stay in a game you're not doing anything in? We get a sick reload here. I'm going to gain life here because I can start Frodo to get some value. And by value, what I mean is I can start ring tempting here. So for those who don't know, Shadar, the Knight Commander, if a Knight attacks, you get to loot, rummage. And then if he hits a player, you reanimate a Knight from the graveyard. So we've got a loot effect there, we've got the ring to potentially level up here. What's our opponent who won in a casual game going to do here? They're going to drop a Tergrid. Yeah. Now, this is something I wanted to highlight here, and something you've got to be aware of here, because this opponent went off in at the end of the match. If you're going to drop a mega hate card or like, there's something you've got to understand here. You'll see your opponent responds to this by just small cyclonic rifting just to get rid of the Tergrid, and then decides to go all out attacking ladder guy, because yeah, it's fair enough. His opponent, his deck is built around looting, dropping stuff in the graveyard and reanimating it. Well, it's a tribal deck with reanimation synergy. So yeah, you're gonna take that out. And you know, I don't get how you can be like, here's the deal, if I play my hate bears deck, the deck that has all the creatures that say you can't sacrifice, you can't do this, you can't do that, everyone has to discard a card. Well, yeah, you're going to end up in trouble. So we get Aurelia down here. Ultimately, it's not really for any value because we don't have any triggers. But we're just going to hammer into Ian here. We get another combat, and we ultimately force him down to 4. Toss him down to 7. Now this is what I hate now, because I'm pretty confident our opponent was holding something that you'll see here. And this is why, if you're playing a casual game and you want a casual game, don't run effects like Tergrid. Because our opponent here is going to try and cast their Negan, and it's going to get counterspelled. Now I just resolved a double combat Aurelia for like 20 damage in the air here. And the Knight player for that was less of a risk than the Tergrid. Literally the whole game has warped around the Tergrid now. So now our opponent has to try and outspeed us here. Their creature does have first strike, and they've got some pretty cool knights here. But ultimately, as you can see here, we've just got a quicker clock. With double combat and things like that resolving, they have to find removal or other effects now. And spoiler alert, they don't, because basically we play around potential interaction here. So we just drop the Triome. I'm going to drop Amulpal because she has triggers at the beginning of combat. So we'll start pumping her up and making gnomes. I want to deploy the Qasali Pride Mage to try and take out that Mask of Memory. But ultimately I'm just going to do that after combat because I don't want to run into like a board bounce and not have a board presence. But as you can see here, they blocked the gnome token. We get an additional combat step. That puts them down to half dead on commander damage, even though they're gaining life from their lifelink knights. And yeah, basically it's now removal or bust, because, well, they could survive if they find flyers, removal or bust. We deploy the Qasali Pride Mage, and I pass to opponent's turn here. They play a roaming throne, which is great for them because they're going to get double loot, double reanimation. But before we do damage here, I'm going to pop the Qasali Pride Mage. But unfortunately, they do have protection to keep it alive. But basically now they have to find removal for either Aurelia, Niv, or a way to phase out and not take damage. So as we see here, they put Vrona the Butcher in, one turn too late, I'm afraid. They get Raya the Might-Making Knight from New Phyrexia, and a Changeling Outcast in the graveyard. They build up an insanely sick board, but they are just dead here to an attack from Niv. They have free mana and free blood available for Rummage, so we'll just untap. And spoiler alert, they do not, unfortunately, find anything. So we swing in and they don't have it, so ultimately they lose. I mean, this was a quick 30-minute game, but it got entirely warped around the fact that the guy screaming for a casual game, let me play my commander, dropped Turgid, and yeah, it wasn't his commander, so I understand running it in that capacity. But after the game, man, don't send hate to the other players' messages because they killed you first for having the strongest card in the game.